Good morning, traders. I am Emily Vani, the CEO of the Investment Banking Institute and your host here at NewsWare's Trade Talk. Joining me is trading anchor Bill Olson, who brings more than 30 years of institutional trading experience to our program. At Trade Talk, we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Today is Tuesday, March 18th. 2 in a row ain't bad. Markets caught a lucky streak yesterday and finished their second straight session higher. The Dow advanced 353 points, or 0.85%. The S&P 500 added 36 points, or 0.64%. The Nasdaq gained 54 points, or 0.31%. But let's get into Tuesday's action with what is happening in the markets this morning.
Hi, yes, good morning, Emily. Watching the S&Ps. The S&Ps are weakening. We're down 0.33%, so about, 0.3%, let's say. There's a host of economic reports coming out pre-market this morning. You got elevated geopolitical tensions, and, you get the start of the Fed meeting. I mean, you think about the geopolitical tensions, and you got to point to the Middle East, where Israel launched airstrikes in Gaza this morning. Later today, President Trump is scheduled to speak with Russian President Vladimir Putin on the Ukraine war. Putin already put it out there that he's demanding the suspension of all weapons deliveries to Ukraine during any proposed period of a ceasefire. I'm sure it's going to be one-sided, and it's going to be a tough obstacle for them to negotiate. And speaking of negotiations, the Trump administration, their tariff policies, they remain vague. The administration is kind of working on its messaging, to kind of, soften the blow of the tariffs that are coming in 2 weeks. But any way you look at it, any way you slice it, you start putting on tariffs, and that's a negative catalyst. That's why you got to be really cautious in these markets, with any long-term positions, because these tariffs can, knock them out any gains you had very quickly. So yeah, I'm really concerned about the tariffs that are coming on April 2nd. What else do we see? Yeah, some news on Google. Talks are reviving with Wiz on the potential takeover. Upcoming earnings. Earnings action. You had the Tencent come out, and tomorrow morning you got the General Mills, all these bargain basements, and Signet Jewelers. That's all coming out tomorrow morning. And then, you take a look overseas at the overseas action, you show the DAX. The DAX is railing. It's up 1.25%, or 290 points. The German lawmakers are set to vote today on that landmark multi-billion euro spending package today for infrastructure and defense spending, and that's a really big shot in the arm for the DAX this morning. In London, you're seeing the index up 0.24%. Hey, you know what? You're seeing gains in mining stocks, you're seeing gains in energy stocks. That's all positive, helping that index push a little higher. And the CAC is up, 0.64%. Autos are higher, financial stocks are higher. Good to see in France this morning. Then we're taking a look at Asia last night, and Asia was, virtually green. You're looking at the Nikkei. The Nikkei jumped 1.2%, or 448 points. I mean, it did benefit from the weaker yen. Trading firms move higher as Warren Buffett, increased his stakes in these trading firms. And you get that BOJ decision. That's going to happen, tomorrow morning, and they're not going to move interest rates. I don't think so. I think they're going to, keep interest rates even. They might come out and say that there's going to be planned hikes in the near future, but not at this meeting. Then you have Hong Kong. The Hang Seng jumps 595 points. That's 2.46%. The inflows, foreign inflows, money into Chinese stocks hit a record in February, And then you got China. China didn't really move much. It was up 0.11%. Home appliances and pharmaceutical stocks did lead the gains. And that was mainly due to the recently announced consumption boosting practices from China, which, are positive for those sectors, but I think the pending tariff action by the U.S. is kind of limiting those gains in the Shanghai market. Then we're taking a look at oil, and guess what? Oil is continuing to trend higher. It's up over 1%. It's like up about 1.25% this morning. You got WTI at $68.45 a barrel. You got Brent at $71.95 a barrel. The fact of the matter is the key catalyst, Middle East tensions. Because Israel launched a large-scale attack on the Gaza Strip earlier today. It's the first major strike since the ceasefire took place in January. And then you get, optimism over, a Chinese economic recovery, put those two things together and you got higher oil prices. So oil is up. And then, after the bell today, you get the API stockpiles reports. That could be a catalyst for oil prices for tomorrow morning, something to keep an eye on. But that's what I have for you in terms of a morning market update, Emily.
Bill, it seems like we keep singing the same tune, geopolitical tensions, tariffs, economic health, monetary policy, all the things that are really moving the markets. But it's worth noting and following this action day in and day out so we can really get a good feel for what and how the markets will be reacting on throughout the trading day and week. As you did mention, economic reports today, there's a number of watch along with that Fed meeting that starts today. In just a moment, we will get to the day's economic events. But before we get there, let's make sure we hit earnings action. Bill, give us a rundown of what's going on in terms of earnings.
A little light this morning. We have TME, Tom Michael Edwards. That's Tencent Music Entertainment Group. Stocks trading higher after positive data on revenues and income. You look at the stock this morning, it's up 1.53%. Then you got ticker BEKE, Boy Edward Kilo Edward, KE Holdings. Stock is, stock is lower by 2% this morning. They did report, lower earnings. Approximately, they missed by 61 cents. A little tough because of the currency differential. When you're dealing with some of these foreign companies. What do we have coming up? Tomorrow morning, you have General Mills, ticker GIS, Grace India Sam, EPS is 95 cents, expected move is 5.78%. Ollie's Bargain Basement, ticker OLLI, Oscar Larry India. EPS is $1.20, expected move is 9.68%. Then you have Signet Jewelers, ticker SIG, Sam India Grace, their EPS is $6.39. Expected move is 12.10%. Interesting, with the elevation of gold prices, their revenues should do well. That's what I have for you in terms of terms of earnings action, Emily.
Shifting now to those economic events, number of key economic reports to keep track of today, along with the start of the FOMC meeting, the latest on monetary policy due out tomorrow. So, Bill, give us a rundown of what we should be watching when it comes to economic events.
Okay, 8:30 a.m. Eastern time, we get housing starts and building permits. Also at 8:30, we get import and export prices. Then at 9:15, you get industrial production. Yesterday we had that retail sales data that came in, showing that retail sales grew by 0.2%. The problem is the expectations were 0.7. I mean, I saw one reading of 0.6, but still, it's really fallen short. And that New York Empire State Manufacturing Index, that plummeted 26 points in March. So, that's not really positive. And today, at the start of that FOMC meeting, no rate changes is expected, but it's the commentary surrounding the Fed's feeling on, on Trump policies, now that we're a couple months into his term, that's really going to be directional for the market. We're going to have to see how they comment on it. We're going to have to see what they say about the tariff action. We're going to have to see what they say about, how the economy is holding up, because, you look at that GDP now data, it shows that the economy is weakening. You look at some of these reports, like this retail sales report or the Empire State Manufacturing Index, and you should see weakness. So got to be a little concerned about what the Fed is going to say tomorrow. Especially during Powell's press conference at 2:30 p.m. But that's what I have for you in terms of economic reports, Emily.
And again, keeping track of not just those reports, but any commentary using your NewsWare. And this way, you're really able to keep track of it. Because as you mentioned, it's not really just the decision on monetary policy. It's what other clues do we have on the health of the economy and where the Fed might be going next. And you're keeping track of all of that data, all of that earnings action, all of that political news you mentioned, and still you're keeping track of a host of corporate news. And you're keeping track of different stocks grouped together, like your FANG stocks, your Dow 30 stocks. You're watching merger news, guidance news, shareholders meetings, buyback news. You're doing this every morning, Bill, using your NewsWare and throughout the trading day. So, Bill, what else do you see as possibly moving the markets today?
Doing a quick data check. I'm looking at my Dow stocks. I got 19 lower, 10 higher, and 1 unchanged. Looking at my FANG stocks, I'm seeing weakness across the board in the FANG stocks. Nothing really significant except for Tesla down 3%. But let's get into some of the news behind the tape. And you're talking Apple. Apple lost an appeal this morning against a regulatory assessment that opens up iPhone maker to stricter controls in Germany. You look at Apple; it's down 0.23% this morning. Then you got Amazon. They filed a lawsuit against the U.S. Consumer Product and Safety Commission, accusing the agency of stretching consumer safety law by ruling that Amazon is responsible for recalling products sold by third parties on Amazon.com. Amazon's down 1.4% this morning. Then you got Google restarting their talks with cybersecurity firm Wiz. To Meta, they get, Meta, stocks trading down 0.5% this morning. They got that FTC trial commencing next month, and they could be forcing Meta to sell one or both of its most popular apps, Instagram and WhatsApp. So got to be a little cautious there. And Tesla, Tesla continues to show weakness. As I said, it's down 3% this morning. There's concerns about, their autopilot safety. It's really being questioned. There was a report on YouTube where a guy was doing testing, and it did not perform well. It did not. So, there's some nervousness there with Tesla, and because a lot of its momentum last year was due to the autopilot, and now there's a question of safety. Not good. We're talking Dow Jones 30 stocks. We're talking Microsoft. The Commerce Department is expected to ban Chinese AI model DeepSeek on government devices. That's interesting. Apple, Turkey is planning to launch new regulations aimed at tech firms. Specifically, hey, it's a moneymaker for these firms, so these countries. So yeah, why not do it? Then we're talking merger news. Google could announce this morning the takeover of cybersecurity firm Wiz this morning. The number out there is 30 billion. We'll have to see what happens, but that could be announced this morning. Keep an eye out for that. In terms of guidance news, Steel Dynamics, STLD, Sam, Tom, Larry, David, they see Q1 EPS coming in at $1.36 to $1.40. Street estimates $1.47. That's a little bit of a downtick. Shareholder events going on today. NVDA, that GTC conference starts this morning. The CEO of NVIDIA is speaking today at 1 p.m. Interesting. Adobe Summit also starts today with a number of key executives scheduled to speak. But those engagements are really going to be done after the close. I believe they happen at like 5 p.m. this evening. In terms of buyback news, Tencent Music, TME, Tom Michael Edward, they announced a new 1 billion share repurchasing program along with their earnings release this morning. And that's what I have for you in terms of a morning market update.
This is the type of data that NewsWare delivers daily. It's factual, it's market moving, and our alerting functions bring it to your attention as it happens. Go to www.newsware.com now and sign up for the trial and see for yourself the benefits that professional Newswire delivers. It is now that time of the show for the Trade Talk pick of the day. Bill, what is your pick of the day today?
I'm going to go with GDS Holdings, Grace David Sam, ticker GDS. Earnings are tomorrow morning. EPS is for a loss of 27 cents, but the expected move is 14.19%. Look at yesterday's call volume. 1,448 calls versus 671 puts, 2-1. Look at the open interest, 51,162 to 21,685. Again, more than 2-1. The major brokers do like the stock. They like what the business that they're doing. So yeah, GDS Holdings, that really is my pick of the day in terms, in terms of a price target. I got to tell you, I like it under 36. I'm willing to pay 36 for it, but that's probably as high as I'll go for GDS Holdings, Grace David Sam. But that's my pick of the day, GDS Holdings.
But we will follow that one along with you today. And coming up, we will do a recap on yesterday's pick of the day. But ahead of that, let's take a look at the current breaking headlines that have hit the tape in our hot off the press segment. Bill, take it away.
Okay, let's see what we got here today. Frontier Group, ULCC, unveils promotion for free carry-on checked bags. NDAQ, NASDAQ deepens its commitment to Texas with additional client investment. Donald Trump is stepping up his testing of legal norms on pardons and deportations. Corning, GLW, Grace Larry Williams, stocks trading higher this morning. It got mentioned on one of the business shows. And they're going to be hosting, investor and analysts at the NYSE today at 8:45 a.m. National Vision, ticker EYE, they're adding 2 new directors to the board. This is due to pressure from Engine Capital. Walgreens Boots Alliance, ticker WBA, their executive chairman, he's going to be doubling his stake to 30% after that takeover by Sycamore Partners. Crown Castle, CCI, they just appointed a new CFO. Meta Platforms company said its independent fact-checking program in Australia would help detect and remove false content and deepfakes as it aims to curb misinformation ahead of the national election due by May. NVDA, listen, they're expected to reveal details about the company's newest AI chip at the Software Developers Conference today. The new chip's name supposedly is Rubin, Rubin. That's all I'm seeing this morning.
Okay, Bill, before we dive into trading on this Tuesday, let's do that check-in on yesterday's pick of the day was NVIDIA. We did just hear that headline you mentioned. You also, during your NewsWare Alerts breakdown, reminded us of that GTC conference for developers underway yesterday with the CEO of NVIDIA speaking today. Yesterday, you definitely thought there'd be some weakness in the stock to pick it up at a good price. There certainly was some weakness, but how did your call work out?
Yeah, it didn't work out. I mean, the building blocks were there, but I mean, listen, the stock opened up at 122.74, and it did fall all the way down to 118.03, and then closed out at 119.53. I mean, my entry price was 120.50, which was, a good entry point, but it continued to fall. And this morning it's still, it's not popping this morning as it heads into the conference. I still do think there's an opportunity here for it to push higher. But it did work out yesterday in the 24-hour period. NVIDIA yesterday was a miss.
Bill, still a good price to get it in, and maybe there is still some room to move higher. Progress, not perfection on that one. And we will check in with you tomorrow about today's GDS holdings pick of the day. Bill, thank you as always for your expert insight. Join us back here tomorrow and each weekday morning at NewsWare's Trade Talk when we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Again, I'm your host, Emily Advani, here with trading anchor Bill Olson. Traders, you know what to do. Let's go out there and make some green.